I think I had some very real conversations with some of my mentors and leaders in college where it was like, you need to make sure, like you have that backup plan. And I could see nothing against it, but I could see some of my peers that, went different routes and
Mhm.
didn't necessarily have something that they could just fall back on. And originally I thought I thought I wanted to go into like the financial services and be a financial planner, but the more I kind of learned about it, the less appealing it was. And I obviously went a different direction. But I think for me, it was always kind of having that plan B. And it was something that I just knew I might need to have. Right. And so I think the confidence came from like, I got a finance degree. I did well in school. I was confident that that was a career that I could go down and be safe. Again, it didn't pan out that way. But I think it helped me have the confidence to seek other opportunities.
We got Greg Wolfe, Tom Mealy. We got a great show planned ahead. We got Greg out in Michigan. But anyway, Tom Mealy, 2 seconds. Why do we do this?
Why do we do this? Well, Greg, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We do this simply because we want to provide an outlet for guys for life after the game. It's a very, very big transition for guys like myself, Greg, you, Bob. I mean, we all played at different levels. Greg and I crossed paths over the course of our career in the East Coast League, and here we are today. That we ended up in the same industry, and then I think it's great to do business with guys in other markets and also that you're familiar with, but also it's mostly to give guys an outlet to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel when making that transition from the game that we all know to the business world. And we just want to be a platform for guys. We've connected, we've done deals with guys in different states, we've hired guys from referrals that we have in our office. So not only is it networking, but it's also a great way to give back and provide an outlet for guys to know that you're going to be okay when the game's over. So that's why we do this.
Yeah, and Greg, thank you obviously for jumping on this. I know you have you're busy. You have your real estate company over there. You have your wife, kids, in and out of the hockey rink, all that kind of good stuff. So appreciate you jumping on. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we got a laundry list of questions.
Yeah, so I basically have been retired for 5 years, and I'm living in Plymouth, Michigan. I have a wife, 3 kids. My oldest is playing hockey, and so it's funny now. Everything's kind of come full circle, and I'm actually coaching his team. So I'm still very much involved in hockey. Real estate was something that I was working on kind of as I was coming to an end with my playing career. Kind of saw the writing on the wall, and obviously, a lot of us are trying to get to the peak of our playing career, right? We're trying to get to the NHL, and at a certain point, I think everyone realizes, there's more to life, or, certain circumstances, I guess, help you kind of realize that, maybe it's time to hang them up, switch gears. And so I think, as I was winding down, real estate was something that was very intriguing to me. And there's various things, people that I was associated with. And I have a finance background, so I was always very much interested in, I guess, investing and, I guess using money to make money, I think was kind of the underlying factor there. And yeah, I mean, as things kind of slowed down, I realized I wanted to be back at home, wanted to be close to family, and my last year, my son was 1 year old, so kind of figured it was time to switch gears and start family, and I guess figure out a way to set life up after hockey and make progress towards, really just making some progress towards our future and not just stuck in the present. It's very easy to continue playing hockey and doing the thing you love, regardless of, the outside factors, financial factors. And I think there comes a realization when it's not just about you anymore, where you figure it out and you're like, okay, I do need to take this next step. And what's that going to look like? And real estate obviously was the path that I went down.
Yeah, and you had a successful career at Michigan State, and then after that, so you finance degree, like you said. So what was it that appealed to you? I know you said the finance side, because finance is different than real estate. Because right now
Yeah,
you're an agent under Social House Group. Is that correct?
that's correct. Yep. So it all started with, I guess, getting my agent's license. In the background was, I always wanted to, I guess, own real estate. And I didn't know really what it was going to be, but I knew I wanted to be able to purchase property and get that appreciation and value. And as we went through it, obviously there's, some really fortunate tax benefits that come with it that I think, kind of backed into a little bit. But I actually, a guy that I played baseball with and went to high school with, he started his own brokerage and he was really into like social media marketing kind of early on. So probably like around 2015. And I kept seeing his posts and I kept seeing his posts. His name's Eric Wright. He's the founder and owner of Social House Group brokerage. So I just kept seeing this stuff and I'm like, man, he's just doing so well. And it looks like he's really got this figured out. I didn't really understand all the ins and outs of marketing, but I could just tell that he was having a ton of success. And so I made a phone call. I was playing in Toledo and I made a phone call to him. I'm like, hey, like I'm winding down. I'm super interested in real estate, like very interested in investing, but I feel like the first thing I need to do is get my license and start learning about the industry. And he was super excited and very helpful and ended up turning into a bit of a mentor for me, but helped me along the process. So I was playing in Toledo. I think I got called up a couple times that year, but I was studying at home, getting ready to take the test. So it's pretty much what my days were filled with, for probably a couple months. And I took the test, and that I think so. We went actually to the finals that year. We lost to Newfoundland, and like right after that, like I knew I was going to retire. So just talked to all the guys in the locker room. I was like, hey, like we gave it a good run. Like it would have been awesome going out with a win, and we had a team that could have done it that year. But you know how it goes, it just didn't work out. But either way, I knew it was time for me to be done. So just kind of told everyone, and we were up there for a couple more days because we lost in 6. And really, when I got home, we started prepping, for the next thing. And at that time as well, and then I'm sure you guys can understand this, but I was, you are a hockey player. It's in your DNA. So I actually took a W-2 job with Total Package Hockey in Detroit. And that was kind of my way of, I was really starting 2 kind of careers at once. And the hockey thing wasn't really about like the money or anything, but it was about stability. And so during that time, like I was working with really high level people too. Brandon Arado was he was in a leadership role. I don't know exactly what it was, but he was a partner with a company and he was kind of overseeing Detroit. And then I also work with Matt Lark, who's he's a skill development coach right now with Seattle Kraken. So I mean, I was with some pretty high level people, and it kind of felt like home, I guess, if you guys know what I'm saying. So like I had the ability to kind of transition. Really, I'd say like on my own terms. I was still doing hockey, but I had this other idea that I really wanted to pursue, but that kind of gave me the confidence to, have, I guess, that W-2 steadiness and health insurance and all the things that you need with a family, but also, kind of go down that real estate path and give it time when I had time. And it was really a nice kind of coupling of, I guess, a couple different jobs. And where I thought like I'd make a transition and I'd be doing one full time, I'm kind of, stuck in the middle right now. I'm actually working as a player development coach with NTDP in Plymouth. So, in hockey season, I'm still very much involved in all the ins and outs of hockey. And then, on the weekends and other times where I guess there's less to do, I'm on my computer and I'm trying to, create deals and help clients and find personal properties to purchase.
Are you heading up the 09s or what?
We'll be with them. Yeah, no, we will. They're coming in here. I know August is, really the orientation, and that's when kind of things kick off. And myself and we have power skating coach too, Stacy Barber. We're more on the development side, so we're kind of closely individually with the players, and then obviously work with the coaching staff for team concepts and all that good stuff. But it's a great.
You guys got a couple of good players coming there. You got Pandolfo Sears and Freddie Myers kid there. So I coached against those guys. I have an 09 as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm excited. Every year is pretty exciting with, some of the names and some of the kids that are coming in, and there's definitely no lack of talent. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things that I love about it is, I would say like the talent level is so high, but it's still like they haven't played what I would call like big boy hockey yet. So there's a lot of little intricacies and things that, we're able to help them build out, right? There's just we have a lot more time on the ice with them. That's really a 2-year process. So I think that part is very cool, and it helps me stay involved in the game. And I would just say it kind of makes like, everyone has tough days no matter what you're doing, but it kind of makes some of the real estate days a little bit better when I know, I have a chance to get on the ice with some of these high level players and do something that, I've enjoyed my entire life.
So let's touch upon that for a second, because I think this is important, because you do kind of a hybrid, right? So you do a hybrid of both, which is a great way also to stay in a hockey. So if you look at, I know Tom asked this question, a lot of questions this way, but if you look at, getting out of hockey, because I see that, when you had a 1-year-old son, right, that's when you're like, all right, dude, I'm done. You know what I mean? You're either traveling around as a suitcase, because I retired when my kid was 1 as well. So his first year, and I was like, all right, you're either going to, I was playing in Europe at the time. I said, either I got to, drag my whole family out to Europe, or, I got to join the real world and put my big boy pants on and rely on myself now. So same concepts. Talk a little bit about that transition, because if when you go, that's a big scary place for all of us on that transition. And I think this is a very important point, because we talked to, everyone was on this call, a lot of people that reach out to us off this call to say, listen, I'm nervous about that transition. What made you confident to be able to jump away from hockey into this new life?
So I think I've always been a person that's kind of had, like, hockey was my baby and I loved it. And I put, 99% of my effort into it. But I always knew, like, I wasn't a draft pick. Like, I wasn't necessarily on the list that you need to be on. So I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. And with that, I think I had some very real conversations with some of my mentors and leaders in college, where it was like, you need to make sure, like, you have that backup plan. And I could see and nothing against it, but I could see some of my peers that, went different routes and didn't necessarily have something that they could just fall back on. And originally I thought I was going to be, I thought I wanted to go into like the financial services and be a financial planner, but the more I kind of learned about it, the less appealing it was. And I obviously went a different direction. But I think for me, it was always kind of having that plan B, and it was something that I just knew I might need to have. Right. And so I think the confidence came from, like, I got a finance degree. I did well in school. I was confident that that was a career that I could go down and be safe. Again, it didn't pan out that way. But I think it helped me have the confidence to seek other opportunities. And then what really, I just really kind of hit me was like, I'm not the type of person that can like sit at a desk and just sit there all day long and do all this analysis. And that was a lot of what I felt like financial services would be, or something along those lines, where I'd be doing a lot more analysis sitting. And I was like, I need something that's a little more active, a little more me. And so as I was going through this, I met with different financial advisors and kind of was gathering information in the summers and between trainings and things like that. But like, I would say, and I'm sure a lot of people that are in this situation, like, I love playing hockey and I felt like I still had more to give, but I knew that it wasn't the right decision. I knew the right decision was walking away and starting life after hockey. And I think obviously starting a family and having a young son and just knowing what I was making while I was playing, that it just wasn't sufficient to support the lifestyle I wanted to live, where I wanted my family to have. And so I think like that last year, and there was different things that happened during that year. Like I went up, I got called up twice, and I'm not saying like promises were made, but like it was probably the best I was able to do in the American League at that time. And that was my goal, was like, I want to be a full-time guy there. That's my step. And then I can figure out what my next goal is. And the conversation switched. Like the previous years when I got called up and sent down, I deserved to get sent down, and I knew it. because I wasn't producing and I wasn't able to keep up with the pace, and structurally I wasn't good enough. And then, as you get older and you develop, like the last time I was up and down, and they weren't long stints, but I felt like I was playing good enough hockey where I should have been able to stay and whatever, and have a little bit more opportunity there. And I think those conversations were really when the light bulb went off, and I'm like, it's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it won't be a long-term thing. And I think, again, when you kind of mix those conversations into, all right, I have this family, and what are like my life goals, right? And I think once I kind of figured out, like, I don't want to be in this position in 5 years from now where like my stock is actually going down because now I'm older, I don't have any of these skills, and now do I have that confidence to transition into something else, or am I too stuck in like I'm just a hockey guy? And then I think going back to it, like the love for the game, like I knew I wanted to stay involved, and my kid wasn't really old enough to like be playing, but I think what happened was the more I got on the coaching side and the player development, the skill side, like it kind of reignited the fire on the hockey side. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like I want to learn more. But at the same time, it wasn't like, again, what I was doing wasn't sufficient enough to like sustain the lifestyle, if that makes sense. So I kind of found a little niche where I'm like, all right, like I'm getting a lot better at the coaching side of hockey. I'm feeling very confident on that. But like I also have a different passion where it's real estate and investing, and like this is, to me, is how I'm going to accumulate wealth, and this is like the path forward. But I couldn't fully transition either way. I was kind of stuck, and then I kind of found like this is my perfect happy medium. Like I love what I'm doing with hockey, and the real estate has turned into I'm helping friends and family. It's all referral based right now. So like there's times where I'm really busy, there are times where I'm not so busy, but I can kind of shift my focus where it needs to go. And it gives me this really good balance of like every day I feel like, every day I feel like I'm contributing. Every day I feel like I'm taking care of my family. Every day I'm doing some things I'm passionate about. And I think that's like, again, as a hockey player, you wake up every day and you're passionate about what you're doing, right? It's, you're having a blast. You're with your buddies. You're doing what you love. And I think like right now I'm in between two things that I do love. And it's hard to be like, oh man, like, should I just go fully into this? Should I just go fully into that? But I think kind of circling a lot of thoughts back to one thing, the common denominator is I now, with how this is all structured, I now have the time to spend with my family when I want to spend it with my family, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, you're still playing hockey. You're still in hockey, and you're scratching an itch, right? Which is pretty cool. Tom, I know you got a bunch of questions.
Greg, just hearing you say that is sounds very familiar, because once you start getting in your own head, like in the middle of the season when all those mind games start, it's very hard to not only perform, but kind of you're just always worrying. You're walking around on eggshells. Is like, where is this going? You almost feel in limbo, and it eventually it affects your performance. So I've been there. I went through it my last couple of years. Truth be told, I probably played one more year longer than I should have. I shouldn't have probably held on as long as I did. But like I said, the COVID year was the best thing that ever happened, because I was in France at the time. The season got canceled, and it just allowed me to rip the Band-Aid off and start fresh. So it was actually a blessing. I want to talk about the W-2 role that you took, and then kind of when you realize that it wasn't for you, and call it what it is. Now you're living an entrepreneurial lifestyle. You're working in real estate, you're coaching. What is your day-to-day like right now in terms of structure, discipline? Because I think that's a very big factor with the transition, is kind of going from having a schedule every day, being told when to eat, sleep, be at the bus, be at the airport, to all right, what do I do now? How do I create some sort of structure to make myself money, be a dad, be a husband, all that stuff? So what advice would you give guys for, going down that route in terms of
I think the W-2, that actually kind of helped me transition, because it gave me a little bit of routine. But in a short amount of time, like, especially when you're working a W-2 in hockey, I'm kind of looking around like, all right, I see what we're doing. And, like, being from Detroit and working in Detroit, I'm like, I have a lot of these relationships, right? All these people that I'm meeting, I have these relationships. So like I could be working this job and bringing everyone in through these doors, but it's just like the ROI on that and time invested is just not very high. And I think a lot of especially if you're listening to podcasts and you're in the, I guess, real estate kind of mastermind world, like everyone's talking about time, right? You need time. You want your time back. You want to use your time the best that you can. You want to maximize your dollar per hour, right? So I was like, well, this is not a good use of time, right? Like I'm wasting a lot of time in this W-2 role where I could be doing the things that I really like, being on the ice, finding properties. Like those are the things that kind of drive me. And so I found myself just doing a lot of non-hockey things for this hockey company. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. I want to coach. So I was there for 3 years. The way that place is set up, it's a hockey academy. So it's more of like a school. And then a lot of the kids play on the same teams, but I wasn't coaching their teams. I was just working in there. So very quickly, I kind of went from a puck pusher to basically designing the entire program over the 9 months. And that would be like video and practice plans and all that stuff. So like it was kind of trial by fire. Like I just started to learn. And now I did have very good mentors before me that kind of showed me the ropes, but with COVID, they weren't there that long. So it was a lot of, I would say it sped up my learning process because I was almost overly analytical on every single thing I did, because it was like, you have 40 kids there, they have expectations. If you're not meeting these expectations, like kind of the only guy they're going to be looking at. So I think just getting through like my progressions there, and I felt like I developed the craft maybe quicker than it would, it would have taken if things went a little bit different, right? If the leaders had stayed there longer, I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to grow as fast. That's, I made some mistakes, but I think I didn't have a choice. I had to grow quickly. And so by the end of the 3 years, an opportunity came up with NTDP. And then my decision was pretty simple at that point. Like, I either stay in this W-2 and I keep giving my time to something that I'm not really fully invested in, or I can switch paths and I can pretty much maximize every hour I have. And that's, obviously there's a good chunk of time that goes to NTDP, but the awesome thing about that is that makes me a lot better away from NTDP, right? Being around them and around the coaching staff and all these high level ideas makes me a lot better when I'm doing my personal stuff with my individual players. So I think that was it still is a very mutualistic and a very it's a great relationship, because I think I'm able to bring them something that they need, and I'm able to take away a lot of things that I need from them. So that's been a very good thing for me and a very positive thing for me. And then, like I said, kind of outside my time there, there's a lot of time spent on real estate. And again, right now I'm in a little bit of a different, I guess, mode where I'm doing residential sales and I'm helping clients, but I'm also at the same time searching for our own investment portfolio, which holds long-terms and short-term rentals. So everything kind of like two definite, different things, right? But all of the things, I guess, that surround each, industry are very complementary, if that makes sense. So like, again, when we're talking about maximizing time, like there isn't a lot of wasted time, because everything's kind of building either the real estate side of things or building the hockey side of things.
Yep, exactly. So one thing I want to see, you talked about investing, right? So you're an agent, you do an incredible job helping a lot of individuals. What is your process in your mind on your first investment? What are you looking at, and how do you analyze that, and where do you see yourself in 5 years? The reason why I'm saying that is because Tom and I had the same exact kind of story as you have when you started looking at opportunities. And then now you look at, I'll use Tom as an example. I've been in this business for a long time. Tom start building up his portfolio now. And he's doing an incredible job, because I see it firsthand, which is awesome to see. What does it look like in your world and your future? Because obviously you're very goal oriented.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of going through a couple different things right now, but essentially, I would say the simplest way is to look at something, right? So what we did when we first started out was we didn't have a lot of cash, so I was like, where's the closest area to my house that I can afford to purchase a house? And then what are the metrics? Like, is this a feasible thing, right? So there's a town a couple cities over called Garden City, and the values are a little bit lower than where we live, but it's still a desirable place. It's a nice little city. And so that's where we kind of, it was a little bit lucky, but again, that was the thought process, is like, what can I manage? And also it's not going to take all of my time away. And so we found, in the first year, we basically found like 4 or 5 properties all around like 100 to 150,000. And so every time we had enough money for a down payment, we purchased a house, and the cash flow on those were right, like between, after all expenses, they're cash flowing about 400, 450 a month.
Good.
So like
That's
we found like a little niche, and again, it was almost accidental. And I would say to really get to your question is like, take action. I think, and you hear that all the time. That's not like, that's no mystery. But the thing is, like, if we wouldn't have just bought the first house and the inspector kind of told us he wouldn't buy it, and other people were like, well, you know, you really know what you're doing. There's a lot of doubt, right? There's a lot of doubt. And I think it was just, my brother's my business partner. I think we just looked at each other and we're like, if we don't buy this right now, like, we're probably never going to buy anything. Because nobody's like, yeah, do it, it's going to be awesome for you guys. They're all like, I wouldn't. Like, we don't know where the market's going. And I was brand new. I was maybe selling houses for 6 months. So I really didn't know. You know, I thought I knew, or I felt pretty good about it, but I didn't really know.
Well, just a takeaway, I just want to add to that. There's going to be a lot of naysayers. So I just want to make sure we don't miss that point, because there's a lot of naysayers after we retire from hockey, and everyone thinks they know what the hell they're talking about. Don't listen to them. This is just something I went through. Tom, we had a literally conversation about this, right, Tom, sitting down last week, about how, you know, when you start jumping into real estate, you have this big circle of people that, you know, have your back. But as soon as you start being successful, it's weird. It goes smaller and smaller and smaller. So just be aware. And this is just some advice for you, Greg, too. As soon as your portfolio starts growing, your circle is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, because those people that tell you, you know, we're naysayers, they're no longer in your circle anymore. That's just some advice I'm just giving to everybody, because I just had this conversation literally last week with Tom. So I just wanted, that was a perfect example to just say that.
Yeah, I think, and there's doubt, and like, obviously, you know, we had some doubts too, but it was kind of like you look at the risk reward, right? For the first one, like, I wasn't trying to hit a grand slam. I knew that I was inexperienced. I just knew that I had to start, right? Like, you have to start. And I was like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, the mortgage wasn't all that expensive. I'm like, we can afford this, even if nobody stays in it. Like, we can afford it until we can figure out what the next I guess, exit strategy, or what the next strategy is going to be. So I think that was kind of the safety net where it gave us the confidence just to go for it. And then once we had that one, it was kind of like, you know, this is awesome. Like, we found something here, right? So we basically like used all the money we had at the time and bought 4 more within like a year. So we're at, I think, 5 within the first year. And then obviously we were kind of strapped for capital. So then every time we kind of built the reserves up, we would purchase another one. And then every time, you know, so we kind of went through that process. And then I think where that kind of stemmed is we got really interested in like short-term rentals. And to your point about naysayers, we were kind of looking for a similar profile of house, but we wanted to be close to the airport, right? So business travelers, people in and out, almost like a Holiday Inn Express type of thing, but just more space and the ability to cook for yourself and all that good stuff. So we purchased our first short-term rental, was like a 7-minute drive from the airport, a 2-in-1. It was like $130,000, and it's, for 3 years, it's been our best performing property.
Nice.
And when we told people that we were going to purchase that, like, they looked at us like we had purple, like a green head. Like, they're just like, what do you mean? Like, who's going to stay there? Like, this is a horrible idea. And we're like, well, we're going to do it anyway. And it's funny, because thinking about your comment there on that, like, again, it would have been easy just to be like, oh yeah, you're right, that's probably a bad idea, not do it. But it's like doing it. I think every little thing, and it's just like an athlete or anything, but every little like victory gives you a little more confidence, right? And so I think like that helped us build a little confidence. Like, all right, we're not like completely off our rocker. We like, these ideas are solid. And again, a lot of that's like, if you're in a metropolitan area, like, there's going to be demand. You know, like, people are coming in and out for a ton of different reasons. And again, going back to the short-term rentals, the demographic of who we thought was going to stay there, like, yeah, it hit on some of it, but the range of like who was coming and why was so much wider than I had any idea of, right? Like, it was just like, oh, like, that's awesome. You know, like they're coming here to visit family and they want to stay for 2 weeks. Like, okay, figure that. Oh, they're a business traveler and they're going to a Ford plant in Dearborn and they want a place close to the airport. Great. You know, like a number of different things. They're coming in for a Taylor Swift concert. They're coming in, they're just stopping to, you know, go to a different place, right? Detroit was just like where they're flying out from. So I think like, you know, you have these ideas, and sometimes, again, when you take action, you learn a lot more about what you're doing. And obviously you don't want to, again, why I say like we weren't trying to hit a grand slam or anything. We're looking for little victories to learn how this all works. And then, you know, we're at a stage now where like our profile is a little better, right? In terms of like style of house, like it should be a little bit nicer, maybe in a little nicer area, a little more expensive. So I think we kind of set a foundation and then we're growing step by step. And it's very, I would say this is pretty risk averse. I mean, there's obviously some risk, but from a financial perspective, it's not, you know, we're not going to completely lose if we mess one of these up. You know, we'll be okay, and the business can kind of take care of any missteps right now. You know, and obviously as we expand, there's going to be more risk, but I think layering it like that, and there's so many different avenues, like we're just scratching the surface of like what we want to do. But again, I think laying that foundation and always kind of being able to come back to that is where a lot of the confidence comes from to take more action.
Yep. Tom, what do you got? I know we're coming to the top of the hour.
No, I agree. I think that confidence comes with experience and doing more transactions and learning. And at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? Just sell it if you don't want to be involved with it anymore. Like people who don't do what we do, they overanalyze buying and selling a house, because to traditional people, it is a very big decision. But in terms like from a business perspective, kudos to you, man. Keep doing your thing. Very happy for you, and I wish you nothing but success, and keep buy them all, buy everything you can as fast as you can, because eventually I mean, it's 300 years of proven facts that it's only going to go up. It ain't going to go down. And if it does go down, just wait until it goes back up again. So we usually don't like keeping guys too long. I know you got to get back to your day. So I just want to wrap up with this. What would you tell guys that were in the same boat as you and I, that were kind of had one foot out the door, in our last year or two, that we're thinking about the transition? Because let's call it what it is. You were studying for the next step right in the middle of, was it during the playoffs and at the end of your season in Toledo? So I don't want to say you were checked out, but at the same time you were planning. And what would you suggest guys do? Because I think that's a great idea. I wish I did it when I was playing, to be honest, with all the downtime that we had. So what advice would you give guys that when they do start having those feelings, and when to look yourself in the mirror and take the next step?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is like, as you're starting to get those feelings, is start exploring. Like, you need to have conversations. I don't think it's super easy for everyone to find something they're extremely passionate about after hockey, but there is a whole world of opportunities, right? And you really can do whatever you want. There's so many different avenues, and real estate's obviously a great avenue for someone. I think that's a hockey player. I think there's a lot of similarities, and you have that competitive drive, and there's different things that you can do. But I think, starting to have the plan, I think, or it doesn't have to be a plan, but starting to have conversations that are going to help you with your transition. Obviously, talking to people that have done it, and I think, I don't know if mentor is the word, but finding someone that you can trust that can help you. I know I never really had any conversations with anyone. I think that would have, besides people that were in industries, but I think that can help, is finding someone you trust that can help you kind of figure out what the next step is in your transition. And then at the end of the day, it's taking action. Like, it's scary, but you're not going to get any results. You're never going to take the next step if you don't take the action. And so whether it be investing, or I think there's nothing worse than being out the door and just hanging on and hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. I don't think there's a lot of good feelings that come from that. I think it's just, you don't want to be halfway out the door and hanging on and really not taking any steps to I guess go down the path that you need to go down. So that's kind of it. Just make sure you're having conversations and, plan the best you can.
Cool. Tom, Ryan, Greg, real quick. So, I mean, we are extremely impressed of what you've done. You and your brother. So we'll wrap it up. How many units you guys have right now?
We have 11 doors.
11 doors. Cool. And you're building that up. I love the way you guys started. If somebody wants to reach out to you guys, maybe has properties for you, maybe wants to invest money with you, maybe wants to just, pick your brain and talk to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Oh, they can email me at greg@socialhousegroup.com.
greg@socialhousegroup.com. Perfect.
Yes.
Tom Mealy, Greg Wolfe, thank you very much, brother. We're pumped to have you, and thank you very much, and good luck with everything. If you ever need anything, give us a ring, dude. We're always here.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.